How's everybody this evening? A couple minutes here before we get started. Just want to do a couple of quick tests, make sure everything is up and running accurately. Stand by.
Are you there?
Yeah, I have everything muted, that's all.
Okay, cool.
All right, so let me just check over here on the YouTube portion, which is basically what they're going to be on following being able to chat.
I don't know if I'll be able to see the written questions, so if they write something, just read it out loud. So then I can... Okay. Is there anything we don't want to talk about or any subjects we want to stay 10-foot pole?
No, not really. I'm fine discussing what anybody wants to get off their chest. The goal is to, we may only get one or two people. We'll see.
Yeah.
But, the goal is to kind of, discuss the Voodoo Tournament Series, any tournaments coming up in Florida, Florida Blood Bowl in general, leagues. Obviously I don't want to sit here and discuss politics. That'd be off topic. But do me a favor, go on to the YouTube portion and for a second, and do you see my chat? Like, there's a chat there, and I chatted something, just said it's almost time. I just want to see if you see that, and if you could chat in there as well.
Let's see.
Jason Weaver from out in the Washington area saw that we were doing this. He thought it was a pretty cool idea. He said he's going to steal it. I said, you should.
See? Great ideas. Let's try this.
I have the YouTube video that we're live streaming, and it's recording and playing back paused, so I'm not getting the feedback. But I'm just curious because I see top chat and then I see me and I posted something, but I don't see anybody else in there for the chat. So, if this portion doesn't work, like with the YouTube, then we may have to go to plan B and, have people participate in the conversation and just kind of, take our turn. Because I don't know if you have to be logged in to a YouTube account in order to do the chat, or if you could just see it. It's hard for me to test it. Oh, it tells me no viewers. Let me see. So I have the links here.
Not any. So, all right.
Hold on, what's that?
Click on the...
Breaking up on me a little bit. What?
All right. So I should be going in now.
Okay.
Yeah, and I see it's almost time. I should be going in now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about a minute behind.
Do you see the chat though?
Yes.
And do you see what I posted?
It's almost time.
Yeah. Are you able to reply?
Yeah. It's about a minute behind.
Because what I'm looking to do is verify that I can see a question, so that I could start. We could start. There we go. Look, look, Mom.
Yeah, it was doing a weird feedback loop because, yeah, it's running, but it's running about like I said, about a minute behind our actual conversation right now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. So I wonder if you're listed there as the viewer.
I just clicked out of it because, yeah, it was going through the phone into the computer, then a minute later coming back out the phone, but then going back into the computer.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, it was starting some sort of, infinite motion machine.
Okay, well, seeing as how this is recorded and will be able to be played back later, you and I can't start a topic until we actually get somebody in there, with their own question. I'll just kind of keep popping back and forth to the YouTube page and just checking, looking to see if anyone posts anything. Or somebody may post something on Facebook. Like Alan had posted something earlier saying, well, how does this work? What do I have to do? So I tried to give some instructions, some feedback, but with this being the first time, I said, bear with us. Us Luddites will, get through it.
Right.
All right. Well, I think the biggest thing kind of right now that, I've gotten some feedback from and people are talking about is the tournament series that we're doing here in Florida, the Voodoo Tournament Series. And I think so far it's going well. I think there's a lot of interest. A lot of people are not only playing in the tournaments, but they are interested in accumulating the points for the Voodoo.
Yeah, I think I'm talking last year we started really kicking off with the events in Florida. I think a lot of places did too because of the 2016 release. And, we tried to organize it a little bit because we were part of Scars last year?
No, Beast.
Beast. That's where we were last year. I'm sorry, Beast. And it just didn't make sense for us to remain in Beast. So we kind of created our own little hub of the world. So we're now the entire Gulf Coast plus Georgia?
Yeah, it's Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, Louisiana, and Alabama.
Okay.
And at least one of those states, I want to say Louisiana, was previously in Scars, and it was, I don't know, I think it's like half of one, sixth of another. They can kind of float in either one, but until they start running tournaments, it's really kind of a moot point. I mean, as of right now, Florida obviously has tournaments every month, and Corneville will be coming up again this July, and that seems to be the only stable tournament that keeps recycling every year. I think this is their fourth or fifth? Which one did we go to?
Yeah, I think last year was third, so I think it's fourth this year.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I know there was some talk about some of the other areas kind of starting to develop their own Blood Bowl tournaments, and that's something that we could start to see. So, that kind of segues into what we were talking about with Voodoo in terms of, I think one of the first things we started talking about, well, not one of the first things, because one of the first things we started talking about was, should we be doing this as a majors and minors? And as we're 3 months into it, and I'm seeing how much Sevens and Street Bowl and even Dungeon Bowl starting to rear its head, that I think for 2019, I think that's something that should definitely happen. And, feel free if you think the same or otherwise.
No, I agree. And we had talked about, I'm talking, we have relatively, I believe, unique problem in Florida of almost too many people want to run tournaments. I think a lot of places are starved for tournaments. We are, we just have a glut that too many people kind of want to run them. And I think that the issue kind of came up of, well, if so many are running in a certain area, it's kind of difficult for other areas and things like that. And I think, and we even, before Voodoo even started, I remember we talked, and a few of the people that are kind of piecing it together said, what about majors and minors? And I think it was you that brought up the solid point of, for the first year, why don't we keep it simple? definitely majors and minors is on the table. You know, we just kind of table it for now, but it's definitely something that we want to look forward to.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's there's so much of it that we can easily break it up into majors and minors, and still have people interested in participating in both. I don't, especially with the 24, 26. The more people I talk to, the more they're starting to get on board with that. Like Eric up in Gainesville started a thing on the Florida Blood Bowl page where he wanted to start trading teams up and making like a pool of teams available for people who are on that path, so that this way they have access to teams that they may not have bought or have painted otherwise, which is a great idea.
I actually participated in that. That was Eric that started that, and Eric borrowed my dwarf team because he's basically contacted me and said, I have no interest really in having a dwarf team, but I do want to use them to go for 24. So he asked me if he could borrow mine, and I said, sure, that's not a problem at all.
No interest in a dwarf team. It breaks my heart.
I think he's more of a, I think he told me he had never played a bash team.
Really?
So he's always played elves and things of that nature.
Interesting.
So yeah, I was like, oh man, I just can't even imagine not playing a bash team. Like, and dwarves especially, they're like bread and butter.
Yeah, I was the same way. I never played any of the stunty teams really. I tried a halfling team one night, substituting in for another coach, and Tom, the commissioner, my friend, he was like, just play with wild abandon because it doesn't matter. And I did, and I ended up playing a high elf team, and I was up 3-0 or 3-1. And then he came back and tied me. So I played like there was no tomorrow, and I had so much fun playing halflings. And then after that, I was like, I think I want to give goblins a try.
Yeah, I used to have a goblin and halfling team back when I played 3rd edition. But I used to have, at the time, I used to have almost every Blood Bowl team that was out. But my friend's mother threw them all out, so that was a crime. But yeah, I've got a halfling and goblin team. I just haven't played them yet.
My mother did that with my Dungeons and Dragons books, saying I was a devil worshiper, and she threw them all away. That was that was heartbreaking.
Yeah, my friend, one of my best friends here in town, like his mother, they had an official book burning of. Oh
God.
I guess it was that, that was the thing.
It was like Nazi Germany.
So for ideas maybe for majors and minors, I was thinking, just spitballing, and I'm not saying this is concrete or anything, but just if we have to start spitballing ideas for how we might organize it, I was thinking we look at tournament participation this year, and majors we kind of pick the top tournament of every month that had attendance, and I would say that maybe that gets preferential treatment to be the major. If it wants to repeat, if it doesn't, then it could be filled, or something akin to that.
So you're thinking, like, let's say, just for the sake of argument, Jason York's River City Sevens out in Jacksonville. Let's say that was so popular and had such a great turnout that could be considered to be a major.
I'd say so. I don't think the format matters as much as the attendance, personally.
Okay.
That would be my thing, for it to be a major, unless we're doing something special, like, if we pull this event off in October, which I think we will, where we're going to have 3 events over 3 days in October to be a really big Superfest, we might consider all of those majors, because it's what we're trying to make this kind of a pinnacle event here in Florida.
You better elaborate on that now that you've teased it. So.
Oh, now that I've teased it? Well, it's not. People know about it in Florida. But if you don't know, we have talked Crucible last year. I ran Street Brawl last year at Crucible. And it was, for me, I thought it was very successful, especially because I was supposed to run it about a month beforehand. But that's when we got hit with a hurricane. So the weekend I was supposed to run it, we had no power here in Tampa. So that event had to get canceled. So basically, they wanted us to run something at this event in Orlando, and they said, would you run Blood Bowl? And I said, well, why don't I have all the prizes, I have everything already made, why don't I just run my event up there? Did, and it was, I think, successful. I think we had 12 to 14 show up, somewhere in that neighborhood, which was pretty good for the kind of this last minute thing that happened.
That's great turnout.
So they asked us if we would do more Blood Bowl. Basically, the people who ran the event, they're like, "Can you do more of this?" So we're like, "Yeah, I guess we can. We can try to make this a bigger event." So we had talked online, a few of us who had run tournaments in that area, and I said I would do Street Brawl again. And I was like, "Well, why don't we do something? What if we did something that no one's ever done, or no one's done, or at least in this area?" So we decided on Saturday, it looks like we're going to be doing a death bowl, a team death bowl. So 2-on-2 bowl matches for that day. So we're going to be doing that on the second day. And we were only going to do 2 events. But then someone stepped up and said, "Hey, I'd really like to run Dungeon Bowl. Would that be possible?" And we're like, "Do you want to do it at this event on Sunday?" And he's like, "I would love to do this event on Sunday." We said, "Fine, let's do a triple then. Let's go for it." So it looks like we're going to be running Street Brawl, Death Bowl, Dungeon Bowl, the 3 days of Crucible, which is a big tabletop miniatures convention in the Orlando Kissimmee area in October.
That's a big convention for Florida, and this past year when you did the Street Brawl, that was the first time it's had Blood Bowl in how long? Ever, or just after a period of time?
I think ever would be, because Crucible's been around, I think 5 or 6 years, and it's grown quite steadily in those years. So it's getting bigger and bigger. It's got, quite the 40K turnout. It has got quite the what is it? Kings of War. Guild Ball was there. So yeah, it's definitely centers around tabletop miniatures, which is kind of a rarity tournament or a rarity convention. Most conventions are, they're multi. They have card games and they have role playing games and all that stuff. They do have a little bit of role playing games at Crucible, but for the most part, it really centers around miniatures games.
I think Blood Bowl was a great fit, especially for that first day, because we were able to start a little bit late. We were able to wrap up a little bit early. It gave people the opportunity to go and play in other games. Great turnout. Everybody seemed super stoked. And the guy who won, who was that? Was that Paul Fixel? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Paul? Yeah. He hadn't played in like years, and he brings his the New York Giants or Dwarf Giants? And
his Dwarf Giants from the 80s.
Yeah, I played him.
He might have not played since the 80s, he said.
Yeah, had he not showed up that day, I would have walked away with the win with vampires. So in one way, I'm like, oh, why did he have to play Blood Bowl? But another way, I was so happy because he's played another tournament since then. And he's kind of looks like him and his buddy have kind of gotten into the swing of things, which is cool. That we got some of the older veteran coaches coming back into it and playing, which is great.
I think that's it. It's a positive, nothing but positives. And I'm going to give a shout out now because I don't know who's listening and who's not. But once again, shout out to Tom at Impact because he sponsored that event. And he gave me an amazing prize support deal because he's a big supporter of the community. He's also supporting my next event, which is the Grand Arena Tournament of Champions, which I'm doing here in town. So Tom's the best. You guys should definitely go to Impact if you're listening to this.
And that is not a paid endorsement. Tom is just
that is a non-paid endorsement.
That is correct. Well, it looks like I had Jason York from out in the Jacksonville area. So just from a technical standpoint here, he posted that apparently he needs to create a channel in order to join the chat, but he can hear us talking one way or the other. So he just can't type into the YouTube thing. He probably needs to log in with a Gmail account in order to have access to the chat. But in all honesty, that's fine. I posted on the Facebook page under the event at the top, and I just said we're live, and if you guys have any questions. So I replied back to Jason, letting him know we can just leave questions there on Facebook, and once they pop up, then we'll discuss them.
Yeah, or they could probably, I think, DM you, right, via Facebook?
Yeah. So we kind of got off on a little bit of a tangent talking about Crucible, but going back to the first topic that we started here tonight regarding the Voodoo, we started talking about breaking up the tournaments next year into majors and minors. And you were talking about how one way to possibly do it would be to look at the tournaments and see how attendance could possibly, catapult that event into a major. And that's a great way of looking at it. And I would love to see how everybody else thinks about it. In my head, just as an early concept, probably because we talked about it before, was just keeping the Blood Bowl, the full-on Blood Bowl matches, the main Blood Bowl games as the majors, and doing any of the variants, Street Bowl, Dungeon Bowl 7s as the minors. But it didn't even occur to me to possibly do it based on attendance. So that's a great idea.
And I think you're probably going to find that most of the events that are standard Blood Bowl will have the highest attendance. I think that'll probably work out on its own. But you might have one or two standouts, that are cool. And if they're a standard street brawl, like, why not make it a major? Like, that could be the major street brawl tournament of the year in Florida. So, and I wouldn't want to see, just because someone runs standard Blood Bowl, if they have an event, that's very isolated to their own community, and it draws 6 or 7 people, just because it's a full Blood Bowl, to make that a major. I would like to see, a lot of travel, or group consensus in Florida over, what is a major and what is a minor.
Well, speaking of travel, I as most people have seen, I'm really pushing the travel envelope. Number one, by including travel points into the Voodoo tournament standings. So getting some of those bonus points for traveling beyond the first 50 miles and at least 50 miles more. So if you do 100 miles, you get a point. And then for each 50 miles past that, you get a point, to a tournament maximum of 10 for the season. So I think a lot of people, especially, for this first year, I'm really kind of happy and excited with the amount of people who are willing to travel. I mean, you got guys like John Alberto, who's, all the way down, way past Vero. He's almost down near where, on the way to Miami, and he travels up. And he earned a bunch of points going up to Jacksonville for the first River City Sevens event. You have the guys from Gainesville who come down to Melbourne. That's a bit of a hike. Yourself coming from Tampa, that's a hike.
Yep. No, yeah, and I think and people are hopefully coming to my event, so that'll be a trek across the state as well. So for some people, and last year we did the Carnival, and what was that? 13 there and 13 back.
Oh yeah, that was
13 hours.
That was a long trip. That was me, you, and Liam in one vehicle, and then you had Alan and Melissa in the other vehicle. And that came about because one of their guys, God, why can't I think of his name? Donald. No, he ran it. No, it was another guy, and I'm going to look him up while we're sitting here chit-chatting. But he came to...
Is it Carrie?
No. He came to my event that I ran at Get Your Fun On, the first Christmas with Cthulhu event. And I thought, one of the things that I like to do, going back to when I ran my first tournament, is the guys who come to support my events, I feel like it's an obligation that I go and support theirs. So he came up and attended our event. He's in Pensacola. Man, I'm gonna look it up.
Kenneth?
Nope.
Man, I'm just cycling through everybody.
I know. No, I'll know when I see the name. I'm looking for it now. But yeah, so he came, attended ours, did really well in the tournament, and I thought, well, next time there's an opportunity to go out their way, then I'm going to do it. And that was the tournament. Was the Carnival. I don't think he played. Yeah, he played in that, but I didn't have a chance to play him. I'm sitting here looking through the Pensacola Facebook page, looking for it. I refuse to be defeated by my brain.
Yeah. But I think we like I said, we go through this year, we see how it goes. In case people don't know why we're talking, Jim's the kind of the head of he's the NAF representative for Voodoo, also the creator of Voodoo, also the big pusher behind all of kind of Florida Blood Bowl at this point. I am the treasurer. So that's what I'm doing. And now if you don't know, we're implementing a $10 per tournament, not per player per tournament, but just whoever's organizing the tournament, $10 goes into the pot basically per tournament in Florida. And basically at the end of the year, that will be used for prize support for the Voodoo champions. So that's how that's getting paid for. So everyone agrees that if you're going to run a Voodoo sanctioned tournament, you're going to pay $10 into the pot. to support that. And so far, it's been great, and the money's rolled in, and it's sitting waiting to be used.
Yeah, and everybody, we put that up as a poll on the, so we have a Voodoo page for Facebook, and tournament organizers are invited to it if you plan on running a tournament event in 2018. We really didn't make that open to the public for the first year. I know some of the other tournament series do and some don't, so we decided not to, just to kind of make sure that we kind of have things, between ourselves the way we kind of want to intend it and have it run well for the first year, and then we'll see how that goes after that. But when we put the poll up and threw it out there to do this, because the benefit of doing the tournament series is the NAF will actually have a prize at the end of the tournament series for the first place winner, the second place winner, and the stunty winner, and they'll each get an NAF pin, which I think that's the only way to get it, really, is for an open or structured tournament series. So that's fantastic. And I thought, what would be really cool is if we could kind of pull some money together after each of these tournaments and maybe do some prizes or some trophies for the end of the year. And, and that's one of the other things we're going to get back to and talk about. I do want to take a brief detour here only because we actually got a question, which I'm thrilled about. So Chris McMillan, who I've seen on the Florida Facebook page, been sharing some pictures and been, getting friendly with people. He's new to the area, new to Florida, and he asked the question, what is the Voodoo series? So Ryan and I kind of touched on some of it when we were just talking about, setting certain things up. But overall, what it is the NAF has the ability for a tournament series organizer to put together a tournament series based off of geography. So we have the Beast up north, which consists of all the northern states, pretty much all the way down to like North Carolina. And then we had Scars, which was the Midwest. The guys, Steve and why can't I think of his buddy's name? I'm having a terrible night remembering anybody's names. Anyway, the Bolts Down podcast guys. Steve, yes.
Campbell.
Steve Campbell and his cohort. He'll be known as the cohort. Hopefully they won't listen to this because they'll be like, dude, really? Anyway. So they have their Scars out in Midwest. And then you have the West Coast, which is the Grand Prix tournament series. And that has like Brian 2, his area, which I want to say is Utah, Oregon, California, Nevada. They're all part of that tournament series. So once we had so many tournaments down here, we kind of saw the writing on the wall and talked to the NAF about setting up a Southern Conference tournament series, which I borrowed the Voodoo actually from. I'm just going to stop referring to people tonight because I really can't think of anybody's name.
It's been a long week.
It's been a long week. It's been a long day, but
I've been potty training for a week now, so
I think it was
long week.
Yeah, you've been potty training yourself?
Yes. I've learned. I get treats when I go on it, so it's great.
Oh, then it must be working.
Yeah.
Paul Wright was the gentleman from Pensacola who came to my event.
Paul. Yeah, I
Paul.
played him in the finals at Carnival.
How'd you do in that match? I forget.
Paul kicked the shit out of me.
That sounds about
Paul
right.
Paul's really good.
He's very good. Yes.
He was very generous in saying that I was a tough opponent, but I don't believe I was. Though I did have a Minotaur that for 6 rounds in a row wild animaled.
That's never good when that happens.
Yeah, and his treeman was just kicking down doors. So
you played Woodies?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, that would be. I think he's one of the top Wood Elf players, if not in America, a lot of places. I don't know, but he's good.
So it was Courtney Simpson, I think you pronounce his last name. And he's in Mississippi, I believe, but he's close enough to Louisiana. And at the time, we were talking about doing like a travel Blood Bowl tournament where everybody would kind of like how you go to Chaos Cup, and it obviously wouldn't be a major, but I wanted to do one where, hey, let's all have an excuse to go to the Big Easy and go to Mardi Gras or something like that and play Blood Bowl. So he came up with the idea. He's like, man, I would want to run like and call it like Voodoo Bowl or something like that. So when I was coming up with the idea for the tournament series, I kind of stole and borrowed that idea and let him know that I was going to steal it and borrow it. And he was cool with it. He's a cool guy. So And it's funny because I think Nate Beam was talking about mosquitoes and having it be, I don't know. A couple of people were thinking the same thing. And I'm like, yeah, man, I don't like mosquitoes. So no.
Yeah. Skeeto series.
Something
but
like that.
To boil it down to the brass tacks, it's basically all the tournaments that belong to it. You can earn points. At the end of the year, we tally all the points. Whoever's at the head wins prizes, and you get it. And we haven't totally figured out what prizes we're doing, but there could be like most touchdowns, most best defense. There could be something like that, like you would have in a tournament. But we're going to look at all the tournaments across the entire region, across all the tournaments that played that were part of it. And that's really what the Voodoo series is, or what a series is.
And somebody brought up a good point regarding the Voodoo series, and you're going to see the underlying theme here throughout this AMA that obviously I have a terrible memory. But someone had brought up the point about, well, it might have even been you, like how do we weight the other states who participate in the Voodoo versus Florida? Because obviously Florida's blown up this year, and we have at least 2 tournaments a month, 1 to 2 tournaments a month. That's a lot of tournaments by the end of the year. So how would somebody in Alabama who may have 1 tournament to go to and can't travel, how could they compete in the regional tournament series? They're not going to have the opportunity to earn all those points. So what we kind of talked about, for the first year at least, is keeping the open tournament series as it is, being able to earn the points across all the tournaments, because one of the reasons we do it is to encourage travel. And I get it, sometimes people can't, but speaking of Courtney, there was at least 3 tournaments that he tried to make it to, and just Mother Nature would not cooperate. There was
the ice over in the Panhandle.
Yep, the ice handle and the Panhandle he got caught in. Another one, there was snow. It just, whatever the poor guy does to try and get out to Florida out this way, he just seems to be stopped by Mother Nature herself every time. So what we came up with, at least for the first year, is doing like an MVP per state, where if they, in my mind, I mean, this isn't set in stone yet, only because it's not part of the NAF, regional tournament series, these particular rules. But if we do like an MVP based on state, and I'm thinking in my head, if that state has at least 1 qualifying Blood Bowl tournament, you'd have to have at least 1 in order to get an MVP. Then we can award MVPs for that state based off of, most points earned or most casualty, all that stuff. I think that'd be great.
I agree. I think that would be good. I would say, if anything, maybe you could. The one thing I would say is, like, say someone lives in Mississippi, like we have a situation, but that they play in 1 or 2 tournaments in Louisiana. Maybe they could be considered for the Louisiana bracket. You know what I mean? Louisiana MVP or something like that. We would have to hash out how this kind of works. Maybe you can just declare what state you are competing for MVP in, and you have to at least have competed in a tournament in it, something akin to that.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't care, depending on how everybody else feels about it. And like you said, it's something we'd have to hash out. But if you're that guy and you're traveling to other states, shouldn't you be then included if you're earning points in those states based off of a state MVP?
Yeah, and that's it would just be weird to me with, like, Florida guys traveled to Louisiana and they won the Louisiana MVP. That's the only thing.
I could totally see Chris Nelson doing that, and I'm sure he'd probably make that one of his life's goals.
Yes, to be MVP of every single state.
Yeah. That's a long year.
The Chris Fecta,
If someone was able to do that and actually win a Blood Bowl tournament championship in every state, I think the NAF should pay for their World Cup ticket or something.
Yeah, something special.
That would be crazy for someone to do that, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. So hopefully that Chris had just posted. He's like, I told him we were discussing it now, and I know there's a little bit of a lag. So he is catching all of what we're saying, and he said, I hear thanks. So great question, Chris. I appreciate you participating. I'm sitting here thinking about it. This is almost like a podcast in a sense, but there's no editing. It's all live.
Yeah,
So,
it's the worst podcast.
yeah, we have no intro music, we have no segues, we have no commercials, we have no
There's
editing.
noise, cars in the background, and yeah,
no budget. I haven't even gotten a coffee yet from Starbucks. So, but all right. So we talked about Voodoo, and we talked about breaking that up into majors and minors. We talked about award season being overall regional plus state MVPs. We talked about what it is. We talked about the treasury factor and how we're building the coffers to be able to get some prizes and trophies. And there's so many people out there who do Blood Bowl stuff these days. But like Ryan and I mentioned before, Tom Anders from Impact. Just this year alone, he's helped out so many people that I know with their tournaments and in prize support. So I know that I'd be definitely looking towards Impact in terms of getting some prizes. And we have another guy that we work with based out of Canada. His name's Jack Petruccia from Maelstrom Gaming Mats, who makes some quality products. And he's been doing a series of trophies for Mark Perry out in Vegas. And they're stunning and they're affordable. And I'd probably kind of want to, look his way and have him do our Voodoo stuff. Obviously it's something we need to talk about, but the quality of the stuff that he produces is phenomenal. I would love to walk away with, a trophy that he's made. I'm sure anybody else would as well.
yeah. I don't think anyone can question his quality of anything he does.
Good stuff.
It's and we've ordered quite a few mats in overall in Florida from him, just because it's like, who are you going to go to for mats? Well, you're just going to go to him because his mats are the best. So, not to insult any other mats that are out there, but
no,
his
definitely.
mats are quite amazing.
I've gotten mats from everywhere. I've made them myself. I've bought them from different places like FF Fields, who make some amazing puzzle pitches. I have at least 2 of the GW boards, tournament pitches that I've gotten from here or there. But dealing with Jack he's very easy to deal with, and the quality is fantastic. And you come up with a crazy idea, and he's able to tackle it. Like the pitch that we got for Hooky Bowl, They Live, I think it was Hooky Bowl 3, that you actually won. That pitch,
Yeah.
you get compliments on that pitch every time you pull it out.
Yep, because it's awesome. I'm still in the hunt for 28 millimeter They Live Aliens, because I want to make a vampire team out of it, so it can go with that pitch. But man, if I can't find them anywhere.
I'm sure they're out there somewhere.
I've looked a lot, but yeah, those are what I'm waiting for. There's a couple places that make stuff very akin to it, but not it. But yeah, that's who we go to for a lot of our stuff, because they're really good.
Very, very, very good. So yeah, let's see. We talked about Voodoo. Let's talk about the tournament schedule, the rest of the tournament schedule for 2018. I mean, I feel like we played so many tournaments. We're only 3 months in. And
what about the triple weekend coming up?
Yeah, big triple weekend, the trifecta coming up. So we have the next big, full-on Blood Bowl tournament is Knuffles Wild, the Blood Bowl tournament run by Josh Wojcik. And it was supposed to have been over by now, but he had to reschedule that. And it ended up being rescheduled. We talked about it and agreed upon it. And I love putting polls out there. It's just, I love seeing people vote. And we ended up having a poll to see if we would run his on the 24th. And mine was scheduled, my sevens, Saturday night Blood Bowl sevens event. And we're going to do them both on the 24th. So his tournament will run from, I think it's 11 until 6 o'clock, something like that. And then we're going to do Blood Bowl sevens from 7 until 11. So it is going to be a full day of Blood Bowl. And then the next day in beautiful Jacksonville, Jason is again running one of his monthly River City Sevens events, the second out of 3. So it'll be 2 events on Friday and 1 event on Sunday. And I know at least 2 coaches and possibly myself who are participating in them. Ken Parks is doing it. John Alberto's doing it. Possibly 1 or 2 other ones. But, yep, it's going to be the first trifecta weekend in Florida Blood Bowl.
I would love to, but I don't believe I'm going to be able to because Friday I'm doing 8 to 9 hours in the car because I've got to take my son down to Davie to see a specialist. So that's about 4.5 hours from me. And I got to drive there and drive back. And then the next day I've got to drive 3 hours over to Melbourne for the Nuffles Wild and that tournament. I just can't do another 4 hours up to Jacksonville the next day. I think I'll be done by that point.
Yes, that is a lot of driving.
Yeah, that's going to be a heck of a weekend. So,
well, it'll be interesting to see how all the Voodoo points shake out for that weekend.
yeah, and what is it? Josh has got like some really cool the coins that he made, like for the poker chips. Those look cool. Like, and I think he said that he drew the art himself, which is doubly cool too, which is really neat. Quite the talent.
Yeah, he did. He drew the artwork for the dice that he had done from Chessex.
Oh, I forgot about those too. Those dice look really great too.
I love the color, like the material, not the material, but like the color of the dice. It's got a marble effect, and I love what he chose because it just complements the artwork so well. Mm-hmm. I think he's got some. So yeah, he's got the poker chips. So he's got some great rules for gambling in the tournament. You want to tempt Nuffle's fate, you'll have the opportunity to do so. And I think he had mentioned that he was going to do some artwork, like some custom artwork as prizes. So it's like a very like grassroots, down home type of tournament in terms of the prizes.
Very DIY punk rock.
Yes, which is awesome because you don't see that stuff. You see the teams and stuff like that, and you can get those anywhere. You can get those yourself, but you can't get this stuff unless you win in the tournament or go to the tournament. So it makes it very much a unique item. Let's put it that way. So people who like to collect, this is the type of stuff that they hope somebody sells on like the North American Blood Bowl trade page or the, international Blood Bowl trade page, and some of that stuff comes up so they can add to their collection.
Or Blood Bowl Trade North America, which someone might run on this podcast.
Somebody, and it's not me, so that'll leave you with somebody else.
I always plug that page, use it, get the North American trade going.
I tried to plug that page, but I think I said it wrong because I don't have cue cards, and we're not editing this as live, like I said before, so I can't go back in time. I don't have a DeLorean yet with a flux capacitor. So yeah,
or 121 gigawatts.
Yeah, I definitely don't have any gigawatts. So
that's Nuffles Wild. That's Nuffles Wild, Sevens, and Jacksonville Sevens, right?
Nuffles Wild Saturday night BB Sevens at 7, and then I have the River City Sevens March edition, which is the second of 3, and that's run by Jason.
I just got a notification on my phone here that Jason York just requested to join Blood Bowl Trade North America. I'm glad that my advertisement worked. so that's I will approve you as soon as we are done with this.
Fantastic.
So that's that. I believe. Then what? That's it's March. Then April. I'll talk about that one because that one's mine. So. Actually, do we have another one before that, though?
Yeah,
because mine's towards the end of the month.
That's my other Saturday night one. It's so I'll talk about this one briefly, and then we can get into the Grand Arena Blood Bowl Tournament of Champions. We kind of came up with a concept of doing sevens for 3 months, doing like a January, February, March, and then for April, May, and June, we're going to do Street Bowl. And then July, August, September, we're going to do Dungeon Bowl, Dungeon Sevens, actually. So we're just trying different variants out and playing, having fun with them. It helps us on our road to 24. Helps us with some, voodoo points, if that's what you're doing. But it also gives people who don't have the ability, and this is part of the reason why I decided to do these events. Not everybody has the ability to go out and spend a whole day playing Blood Bowl from 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning until 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, Saturdays and Sundays traditionally are family days, and you might be able to get away, you might not. So I've talked to many people And they were all like, yeah, man, can't always play in, a weekend event. So then that's when I started doing the hooky bowls, like on a Friday, take a day off of work. And like, yeah, man, can't take a day off of work. And I'm like, wow, okay, so what do I do next? Well, how about an evening where if we play a variant and each round, each match is done in about an hour, we can literally do 7 to 11 and get a tournament in. And, we had some people who haven't come out before play, which is great. And then we have the people who play every Blood Bowl tournament because they just want more Blood Bowl. So I came up with the idea based off of a tournament that a buddy of mine, Mark Zuckerman, the Zuck, runs up in Rochester called Zeech's Challenge. So for the next 3 months, for April, May, and June, we're going to do a Zeech's Challenge tournament. And the basis of that is it's a tournament. The main tournament itself up in New York is where you'd play 2 rounds with one type of team, and it's a bash team, 2 rounds with another type of team that's a dash team, like an elf team, and 2 rounds with a flex team that's something in between. And I want to say Amazon's fall into that flex category. So he's run that for 2 years, and I got to attend last year and had a great time. It was a great event. And I wanted to put coaches on an even playing field because some of the, like Chris Nelson is a great coach overall, but in the sevens tournaments that we were just running, he was devastating with elves. And at least 1 or 2 other coaches were like, man, I just, I can't wrap my head around getting past his elves, with defense or offense. So I thought, well, that Zeech's Challenge tournament really does put everybody on a level playing field because you only have access to bash teams. So every coach is different, but to put them all in that same lump category, we're going to see who comes out at the end, the best bash coach for that series. And then the second month will be the best dash coach. So Chris plays elves well against all these other teams, but is he going to be able to play elves well against other elf teams? We're going to find out. Mm-hmm. So we're doing Zeech's Saturday Night Street Brawl.
And another factor I think also that comes into this too is purely kind of a financial one too. Generally, the big Saturday all-day tournaments, they have a tendency, they're running a little more expensive these days, 20, 25, 30. You're doing these Saturday sevens or they're $10 tournaments. So,
yes.
People don't have the cash. This is an alternative for that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And $10 tournaments are great. We're not really doing the swag per se. I mean, Jason is, I want to say he kind of changed up the way he's doing the swag for his River City Sevens, where if you participate in at least one of the series and play 3 rounds, he's going to get you a set of dice for that tournament. And I saw the dice. They're really cool. Me, I decided to forego swag, and I just put out some prizes at the end. So,
and that's, I think it's a good thing. And the other thing is too, I think people are, once again, I don't think they're expecting as much, swag wise, out of the sevens tournaments and stuff like that, which I think is fine. I think the expectations are there.
Well, after we go over these tournaments, I think that's another topic that we can kind of touch on is the tournament structure and how the TOs kind of put them together and what they look at. And actually, that could be a whole 2 hours spent on that from my perspective. But tell us about the Grand Arena Blood Bowl Tournament of Champions.
So the Grand Arena Tournament of Champions. So this is actually something that I've been wanting to do. Most of the tournaments that we've had around here and in general, they run in the 1 million with maybe 200K in skills. I wanted to do a tournament that was a little bit higher. I wanted to have a tournament where you could have a little bit more TV. I think everyone tends to know that some teams function a little better at higher TV and some teams function a little better at lower TV. And if we keep having low TV tournaments, those teams are always going to be the ones that tend to take the trophies. So this is a 1400 TV, and I called it the Tournament of Champions because I didn't want many special rules. A lot of these tournaments were having a lot of special rules, and I think they're very neat. But I wanted one that I considered kind of clean, where it was a real skill base. You can't luck into a victory in this one. So you can, no special rules you can't go, oh man, I was screwed by the special rules or something like that. Or I was screwed by the kickoff table because there's one result on the kickoff table that's absolutely horrible, that, was made for this tournament. I've heard this at, different things or on the Blood Bowl community as a large. So I just wanted a very plain tournament. So 1400 TV, make however you want to get to 1400. That's what you do. You make it. You make it happen. The only thing was no stat increases, I think was the only thing I said. And I capped skills at, I believe, 6 per player because that's what you could max out SPP wise anyway. And then you have to take 1-star player. It's not a want to take 1-star player. You have to. It's a tournament of champions. So pick 1-star player. You got to go with that. And we're not using a Highlander rule. So the big draw for this tournament, I think, is the location. It's where I game and play Blood Bowl here in town locally. It's a little bit different. It's not a gaming store. It's a gaming club. So they don't sell anything. It's just a membership-driven club, and you pay for entrance. So a good chunk of the fees that we're paying to be at the event are going towards the location. It's basically kind of like we're renting it out, but it's got incredibly comfortable chairs, like nice office chairs, great spaces, private rooms if people want to go and play in private rooms. And it's got a kitchen in it that's stocked with a bunch of food and drinks and snacks and everything you could kind of want. And you don't pay for it. So, I guess it's included with your entry. You can take as much as you want. You want to go get 10 sodas, you can go get 10 sodas. You want to go get 10 bags of chips, you can get 10 bags of chips.
Oh, that's a door they may not want to open.
So that's where it's at. So I think it'll be an interesting location. We'll see how it runs. So I'm looking forward to it. And as I said before, price support, Impact, helping me out, doing great things. So once again, shout out to Tom. So awesome. And then we move from April to May, which is Ken's tournament, correct?
Yeah.
Yep. What's that? That is Loser Bowl, right?
That's correct. Yeah, and that one has an interesting, like you were talking before about having tournament rules. This one is the antithesis to yours.
Yes, and there's there is a place for every type of Blood Bowl tournament. I'm not saying that these are bad tournaments. I'm just saying there's a place for all of them.
Apparently, that's Florida.
Yes.
So yeah, he's got a very interesting rule set where you're kind of got to be careful about the team you put together because other people are going to be playing that team. Is that how that works?
Yes, basically the reason it's called Loser Bowl is because you can the idea is to create a crappy team, but the thing is you don't want it to be too crappy. So you have to make a team and your opponent's going to play that team. So make the worst team possible so that way you'll win. But in the final round, you have to use your own team.
Ouch. Yeah.
So if you make it really bad in the final round, you're gonna have problems.
You're going nowhere fast.
Yes, you're going nowhere fast. So it's an interesting dynamic that he's put together there. I think it's quite interesting. I want to see the rosters. If anything, that's all I want. I just want a copy of every person's roster for that tournament just to see how things were built.
I think we may have to do that and actually post them on the event page for the world to see because I can't think of another tournament that's run quite that way. That was a pretty unique idea that Ken came up with.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad we're actually looking at these tournaments here because for May, that's the only event listed. However, we are going to have the nightly events. So it'll be the second month for Zeech's Street Brawl. And it'll be the February, March, April. I think Jason's River City Sevens will be over. And then he'll be doing the same thing. He'll be moving over to another series of variants. So we'll have to get those plugged in there. But just kind of going over what we have here on the page, which is plenty. We had Ken's in May. And in all honesty, I want to attend every one because I've run I've run more tournaments that I played in, at least up until a certain point down here in Florida. Now I finally started catching up, but for the longest time, I had run more than I played in. Now with everybody, coming forth and running tournaments, it puts me in a great position where I can actually start playing now, which I'm thrilled for. But unfortunately for Ken's, May is just the 30th of April is my son's birthday. May 1st is my wife's birthday. The 14th is my anniversary. Mother's Day is in there. And my dogs who have since been departed from this earth, their birthday was the end of the month. We still celebrate it. So May is I don't think I'm going to be able to get out of the bathroom in May. Just work, celebrate stuff, go to the bathroom, and that's about it. So unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be. I mean, unless you never know, but I don't think I'll be attending that one, unfortunately.
So, well, I'm sure you will be. You will be. I'm not going to say sure. I am positive you will be missed.
Yeah, it'll be the first one that I think I've missed since all this started down here in Florida. So that almost makes me want to attend somehow, some way. I'd be like, say to my wife,
virtual.
I have an emergency in Winter Park, and it's going to be an all-day emergency, and there may be Blood Bowl involved, and I may see you tomorrow. So I don't know how well that'll go over, but it's okay because in June we have some events, and the first one on the 1st of the month is Hooky Bowl 5. So Hooky Bowl was the first tournament that I ran, and it was on a Friday because I was listening to Nate Ball from the Skulls and Ones podcast. Back then it was the Bacon Wrap Skulls and Ones podcast, and he was talking about how there aren't many tournaments run on a weekday. They all tend to be on weekends, and I thought, well, you know what? I want to run one on a Friday just because, and we're going to call it Hooky Bowl because I'm going to encourage you to call off of work or take a vacation day or a sick day or a personal day. Or
I've already taken the day off work.
Awesome. Me too. So we get together on
I've already been
and play Blood Bowl instead of working, which is awesome, or going to school, whatever it is you do. And we're already up to the 5th one, so I kind of based them off of movies. So the first one we did was Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and the second one we did was Better Off Dead with John Cusack, and then we started moving into the sci-fi realm. The third one was They Live. Yep, and then we just did Maximum Overdrive. And this one is going to be Big Trouble in Little China, renamed to Big Trouble in Little Florida. So I'm really looking forward to running that. And this is probably one of the first tournaments where it's not swag or prize heavy. It's a low tournament fee. I'm going to keep it, I want to say it's $10, just like the other variants that I'm running in the evening. And, there will be some dice, some swag, but it's not heavy on the swag. And there will be some prizes, but it's not going to be overly laden with prizes. It's just all about coming out and having some fun, on a Friday when you normally be working, playing some Blood Bowl. So I'm really excited to run that one. And then Jason will have his, he'll have his variants, but there's another big tournament in Jacksonville in June. And I think, no disrespect towards any of the other tournament organizers, their events, yours or mine.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Yeah.
The best possible name ever.
Inconceivable. And if you don't know what that means, I'm going to repeat it again. Inconceivable. So for all you fans out there, you probably know exactly what I'm getting at. But if you don't, it's the Princess Bride. And to have a tournament, a Blood Bowl tournament, on the left hand, I love Blood Bowl. And on the right hand, I love the Princess Bride. And you put them together, and it is the best Oreo or peanut butter and jelly sandwich ever. So I can't wait to play in this tournament.
Yeah. No, and the artwork coming out for it, the name itself, just everything about it sounds like it's going to be cool. It looks like it's going to be the first, for lack of a better term, major tournament out of the Jacksonville area, and it looks like they might just be kind of hitting it out of the park.
The artwork. So that came about. I have a good friend who I've known since, I've known Gary since I was in like 4th or 5th grade, and he was just like a little toddler. So I've known him like my entire life. And he is an amazing illustrator, talented, so talented. And he's one of those guys where I come up with these crazy ideas. Like if you haven't seen the pitch for Maximum Overdrive, it's out there. Get a look at it. But I'd be like, Gary, this is what I want to do. And he's like Jack, where he could just put it together. So Gary's fallen into this position where in the Blood Bowl community, people are reaching out to him now and having him do custom artwork for their events, which makes it unique. It gives him the opportunity to get his artwork out there, and they're one of a kind. And I set Joe Coton, who's running the Inconceivable, up with Gary, and the two of them working together, they came up with some amazing artwork if you haven't seen it yet. And I actually have the posters for Joe that I have to give him at Nuffles Wild. They're in my car, and every day I look at them. The poster that you're going to walk away with as part of your swag for the event, and it is just amazing. Like, I love the poster. It is Vinzini and Inigo, and they're both basically goblins. And it cracks me up just thinking about it. But I can't wait to get that poster framed. It's probably going to, usually when we do the posters as a tournament organizer, I like to have all the players sign them, and then I frame them and I put them on my wall at work. I think this is going to be the first poster that I'm not the TO for, but I'm going to have everybody sign just so I can put it on my wall because it is just so epic. It is so awesome.
Yeah, everything's looking great for that tournament. So I'm quite excited for them. And yeah, looking forward to it.
So one other thing I'll say, and goes for just about anybody. So Joe's tournament is at least, I think he just posted something the other day. It's about 100 days out, maybe 99 now, 3 months, give or take, whatever the case may be. So if you have the idea that you're going to be going to a tournament, even if it's 2 or 3 months out, do your best to try and get your registration fee in. And the only reason why I say this is because it helps the tournament organizer be able to get what he needs for the event without everything coming out of his pocket, so to speak. Because it's very hard to come up with, $60 to $100 for dice, and then another, $20 to $50 for posters. And then if you wanted to do caps are probably the only exception, because you could get literally 1 billion caps from Bottle Mark for like $1. I'm exaggerating a little, but you really get a lot of bang for your buck.
Yeah, caps. I just placed an order with Bottle Mark. I think I got 60. I think I got 60, and it was about $12, and then shipping, so about 15 for 60.
That's really one of the easiest and best pieces of swag that you could possibly get. It's so cheap. But if you think you're going to a tournament, and if you can financially, and if you're like me, I live paycheck to paycheck, and I have to be pretty James Bond like to get my Blood Bowl fix. But if you can, help the tournament organizer out and get that registration fee over to them as soon as you think you're going to go. And something happens at the last minute. It all depends. Like, some tournament organizers will refund the money. Other ones are like, well, I had to use it to put towards this, but I'll still give you the swag, which most people are cool with that. And it happens. I've paid for tournaments, and at the last minute I couldn't go, but I got the swag, so that makes me happy. Not a big deal, but if you could do that, that'd be great.
It's one of those things like, if you haven't organized a tournament, when you join, you become like part of the brotherhood when you organize a tournament, because then
Yep.
And I think on occasion, I'm not leveling aspersions at anyone, but people are like, hey, how about blah, blah, blah with the tournament? Well, it's like, you've never organized what have you. It's easy to say, not so easy to produce. Exactly. And a lot of people are getting exposure to that this year.
They are, yeah. And I feel like it's going to be the same next year as well. We're going to have the same guys wanting to run tournaments again, because I don't think anybody's walked away from running a tournament so far with a bad taste in their mouth. I think everyone has been great as far as participants, and everyone has had nothing but positive things to say about. We've had did we have 1 or 2 events so far run by other people? Jason, I have heard nothing but positive things about Jason's event. Alan ran the tournament, the Bloody Valentines, that was back in February, and nothing but positivity there as well. Everybody went out to where's that?
A hobby store. That's actually the name of the place.
Yep, and everybody had a great time. And actually, there's kicking up a league now, and I think Alan, we're getting to it, some of the later months, but I think he's going to run another one there in July. But Jason actually, sorry about that. Jason actually clarified in the chat. So for Jacksonville, they're doing Street Bowl in May. What, in May, July, August? I'm not reading that right. Dungeon 7's in September, October, and November. May, I think we missed June. Anyway, but it'll be on the Facebook page. All these tournaments that we're talking about, if you're looking for them, they're all on the Florida Facebook group, which I'm sure anybody listening or will be listening to this is either a part of or hopefully will be a part of. But it's all posted there for everybody to see, to reference. All right, what do we got next?
So that was Inconceivable. So that was in June, right?
Yep.
Yep. And July is is that Jason's event? Other Jason?
No, he's August. Yeah,
He's
Jake.
August.
The only thing
Do
we
we have
have so
July
far,
open?
yeah,
Or is that
well,
Liam? Is that a Liam?
it might be, but we don't
We've
have
got so many people running
Yeah.
events here.
I know we're doing our best to get them all posted. So if you want to do an event, get in touch with somebody and start telling people you want to do an event. Let us know, and we'll get the date reserved for you. Because when we started this out, the only rule we really had to abide by is the NAF won't sanction an NAF tournament if it's on the same weekend as somebody else's or the same day. Like I think within like 50 miles or so. So we have some exceptions, like what's going on the 24th, where Josh's tournament's during the day, mine's at night. It's actually a positive thing because we're going to have people who are coming out to the tournament who are going to be able to stay later and play in the second one. But typically, if it's like 2 tournaments run during the day, they're both in Melbourne. That ain't going to fly. They won't get NAF approved. So we have a lot of tournaments, and we have some that we still have to get up here. I know Liam's going to be running one. The Gainesville crew is going to be putting one together. But July is technically open. I mean, Alan we don't have a set date for it yet, but he wants to run one of the other variants for Blood Bowl. It's called Beach Brawl, and there's some unique rules for that. But he wants to do that at the A Hobby store at some point in July. And then,
I've read the somewhat standard Beach Bowl rules. They are interesting. They are it's where Blood Bowl players go to relax and have a good time. No one gets hurt.
Oh, interesting. Really? No one gets hurt?
They're supposed to be taking it easy on each other because everyone's relaxing. That's kind of part of Beach Brawl, the Beach Bowl.
Well, I just want to see somebody modify their team and have them in like swimming trunks and tank tops or something, or bikinis. That'd be funny.
I think you could probably find bikini teams out there. I think there's plenty of those. I don't know if you can find a team of banana hammocks, though. That would be something different.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. I was thinking more like a Chaos Beastman head on like maybe one of those semi or clantily scad Amazon women. I'd be like, that's my summer Beastman. He's shaved.
What? Oh my God, you're talking to somebody?
Yes.
We're talking to
Sorry,
everybody.
that's my wife, everyone. Sorry.
You're talking about banana hammocks?
Yeah, she walked right out the door, right as I said, guys in banana hammocks. So.
That attracts people. Like, when they hear that just makes people come running. And that's why we're flying. No editing.
You're flying without a net.
Yep.
So Beach Brawl in July. August is okay. So that is the Death Murderum Crematorium Blood Splatterum. I can't remember the exact title. All I know,
Pitch Sanguinator.
The Diabolical Pitch Sanguinator, which is another contender for great name. I'm talking if Inconceivable wasn't out there, that's going to trump anything. That would in a normal year that would probably win best name.
It sounds like an episode of a TV show, like The Big Bang Theory. That's what it reminds me of. An evil episode of The Big Bang Theory. But this is coming from the mind of Jason Carter, otherwise known as Voorhees Carnivian. If you've had the pleasure of meeting him or playing him, he's definitely a creative dude. The tournament that Alan ran in February, Jason threw together in like what I would conceive of as minutes, a custom dugout for his team that was based off of Castlevania, and it was awesome.
Yep, and that's after he's already made the giant mansion and graveyard pitch for his Undead Horrors team, right?
Yes, the Stitched Horrors. I love that team.
Yes.
I played against them twice. I can't remember the record because I'm surprised I can remember that I played him twice. But I probably just remember because it's always fun playing him. Like there are some matches that are nail biters and your feet sweat while you're playing, and there are other matches where you just laugh your asses off. Whenever I play Jason, it's just a good time. I don't think either one of us you want to win, but we're not like pushing to win. I think we're just like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. That's crazy. Or,
Yes.
oh my God, it's one of those matches. So it's always a lot of fun. I always look forward to playing Jason.
Yeah, I played him at your event, the Maximum Overdrive,
Cool.
and he brought you would look at it on the pitch and think they are Chaos Dwarves, because they are dwarves that look quite evil, and they have like hammers for hands and drills, and they have a giant locomotive that is their. But he made them into standard dwarves, so they're, he ran them as that. So they have like a death roller
The Death
and things,
Roller.
but they look quite evil. But the death roller had the face on it.
The Goblin face.
Yes, the Green Goblin face, just like in Maximum Overdrive. A beautiful team. So quite
yeah, if you attend that tournament, you best expect that there's going to be a lot of outside the box creativity going on in that event.
And his what, Crazy Charlie, is that his name?
Yeah.
The mask.
I think so. I'm going to look that up, but that thing is like it haunts me. It's like funny and creepy. It's like freepy.
Right.
Just made that word up, but
just imagine like a sports mascot, but imagine if the Crypt Horror team actually did have a mascot, what it might look like. He pretty much encapsulated that.
Yes, I would agree. This is what you get when you're having a bad trip. But yeah, he reached out to Raphael from Arna Studio, who does amazing work. I mean, he did the Yig model for the Christmas with Cthulhu, Curse of Yig for me. He's done so many custom models for me. I mean, the guy's tremendous. He does great work. And I recommended that Jason reach out to him, and he did, and they worked together and came up with a 3D design for Crazy Charlie. And when he posted that figure out on the Blood Bowl community, I wasn't sure what kind of feedback or what kind of like interest people would get, but I tell you, once people saw it, they were like, oh my God, I want one. Put me down. I want one. And I'm sitting here looking at it, and man, that is just one creepy thing. So I'm looking forward to getting mine.
And I believe he said that the event, it takes into account the total casualties, if I remember correctly, across the entire tournament. And as they continue to go up, the level of blood in the pitch continues to go up, and different things happen.
Oh, that's cool.
I believe it is something akin to that. So once the event reaches 10 casualties, they're like ankle deep in blood. And then once it reaches 20 casualties, they're knee deep in blood. And each time that's going to have an effect on all the games.
That is
like
awesome.
universal weather conditions.
So it's not just a cool name. There actually is an effect based on
yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. So, last time I talked to him, I don't think he had completely kind of sussed out how he was going to do it. But I believe generally that something akin to that.
I dig it. I really dig it. So I think right now, I think we may get a Gainesville event in August as well, but that's still kind of on the table. So other than Jason's event for August, we have September coming up next, and really nobody kind of put anything out there for September, only because September, if you're kind of heavy into the Blood Bowl community, it's the big U.S. Major Chaos Cup in Chicago. So I know I will be attending for the first time, and I'm hoping some Patrick win in Orlando. If you know Patrick, he's been to Chaos Cup many, many, many times, and he goes every
Godfather.
year. Yeah. He's definitely been playing a long time. I mean, you can always tell, the level of coach you're playing based off of their NAF number and how low it is.
Yeah.
So, like, Patrick has a very low NAF number, so he's been playing for a long time. And it's funny because before I moved to Florida, I would go on business trips when I did marketing, and I would talk to Nate Beam, and he would try and like arrange for me to meet up with people that he knew in the area that I was traveling to, so I could play some Blood Bowl. And actually had a match arranged with Patrick to come down and play him long before I moved to Florida. And we had it all. I was bringing my Chaos team, and he was all ready to go. And then he ended up getting called on the work, and we had to scrap it, and we never got the chance to play. But now I just got to play him at Allen's tournament for the first time, and it was I never I never saw a person giggle so much throughout the entire match. I mean, he was literally having a hell of a lot of fun kicking my ass, which I'm glad. I'm glad I could be that guy for him. So it was a fun match playing. But yeah, he kicked my ass, and it was definitely a lot of fun, though. Patrick's a great coach, and
Yeah, I played him at Oktoberfest.
oh, okay.
And my Skaven versus his undead team, and surprisingly, I was winning. I had managed to pull some Skavenigans, and then I made a pretty crucial but boneheaded mistake in like the last round, and he was able to tie it up. So we ended up tying. But yeah, it was a good match. It was a really good match, and yeah, he exploited like something that I did that was like really dumb. So I was like, "Yep, that's bad play." But that's also the tournament where I was pitch cleared 3 times. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, I'm sure that's
same match. Pitch cleared 3 times. So
I'm sure that was a personal achievement.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
You should put that in your book of grudges.
Yeah. Well, my Skaven came back. We won our local league, so we redeemed ourselves of the horned rat.
There you go, karma. It is a thing. So yeah, oh my God, it's actually after 10 o'clock. I know we were talking about doing this for like 9 until about 10:30.
Okay.
So, or 10:30, 11, I don't know. We got a few people in there asking some questions, so we'll probably just wrap up this tournament thing and save some for. I mean, I'd like to do this again. I think it was a good idea. We had some questions and some people got some new information, which I think was helpful. So maybe next month we'll set up another one and advertise a little bit more and get some more people on board. But
yeah, because we literally put this on the page 2 days ago. We're like, hey, everyone, we're doing this thing.
Yeah, we talked about it last week, and we're like, we're going to do it next week. And then the week came, and it was like, we're going to do this Thursday, and and here we are. It's Thursday already. So
I hope you guys can tell that this was thoroughly thought out and thoroughly prepared for.
Most definitely, yeah. We put a lot of effort into this. So let's see. What do we have? So yeah, September is Chaos Cup. So there may or may not be some other local Florida ones. Right now, it's kind of open. I wouldn't be surprised if at least another 1 or 2 events show up in September. But the big one, which we talked about earlier, is going to be October. And as of 2018, this is the premier Blood Bowl. I mean, even though we have a trifecta coming up on the 24th, this is going to trump that. I mean, this is this is going to be a big event. So we're going to have, like Ryan had mentioned earlier, we're going to have the Street Brawl on Friday, and there is going to be a theme to it. Then we're going to have the Death Bowl on Saturday, the team event, and then we're going to have is it Sevens or is it Dungeon Bowl on? So it's right in front of me. I should just look.
I believe
it's Sevens.
Yeah, I believe it was Dungeon Sevens.
Dungeon Sevens, and the theme of that is Castlevania called Bloodvania, and Jason's going to be running that one. Big Castlevania fan, so it's going to have a lot of flavor in that tournament. So 3 days of Blood Bowl over the Crucible convention. So that's going to be huge.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's got. We have 4 TOs that are working on this weekend. And if you're looking to help, that would be awesome. We could always use 5 TOs or 6 TOs. There's always a little bit to do out there if you wanna lend some help.
Oh God, yeah, tons to do. So this may be the type of event where I've gotten in the habit, and you can call it lazy or you can call it genius, where I'm having recently any of the tournaments that I've been running, I've been having the coaches submit their rosters to their first round opponents, because I've learned from experience, I can look at a roster 5 times and still not catch something, but I guarantee you when you give your roster to your first round opponent, they're going to be looking at that thing like a forensic analyst, and they're going to find something that I might have missed. So I've been doing that, and that's caught on. A few people have run that, but for a weekend like this, where if you're playing all 3 days, you're running 3 rosters. We will probably have people checking the rosters beforehand. We'll need help organizing and setting up, just kind of answering questions. There's going to be anybody who wants to volunteer. As of right now, Ryan, myself, Liam, and Jason are running the events for that weekend for the Blood Bowl side of things. But anybody who's interested in offering a helping hand would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah. And and I think just anything, just looking over rosters would be awesome. We're trying to work out the logistics of Death Bowl has taken up probably hours of chat online.
Yeah,
just trying to work out how long it will be and how many rounds can we possibly have and things of that nature, and just trying to work out, like get a set of rules going, because Death Bowl is so unusual.
Even the design of the pitch we've spent so much time talking about, because they have prefabricated Death Bowl pitches, crossroad pitches, but we of course can't do anything simple. So we're working with Jack at Maelstrom Gaming Mats, and he's going to be doing a custom Dungeon Bowl or Death Bowl pitch for us. That so we have a theme for the event, and the pitch is going to reflect the theme, and there's going to be some fluff, and part of the fluff is actually going to influence some of the game rules, because right now, if you run traditional Death Bowl, it's hard to do in a one-day setting. And that's for NAF sanctioning. There's actually Brian, too, out in Utah, who runs the Rocky Mountain Rampage. He's going to be running a Death Bowl tournament, and because he modified the rules where it's more like a how is he referring to it, as like a lightning rounds? It actually is not. Yeah, it's actually not NAF sanctioned. So they're playing it to play it because they just love playing Blood Bowl and having fun. But if you're playing in that tournament and hoping to X1 off on your road to 24, 26, that ain't going to be possible because it's not going to be NAF sanctioned. So what we're looking to do is kind of bridge that gap and get a little bit of feedback from, the people who run, the Canadians who run Dungeon Bowl. And Brian, I think he's going to have his event before ours, so we'll get some feedback from him. And we already have some ideas for rules and fluff, and we're going to make it so that it's playable in a day, loads of fun, NAF sanctioned, and everything you could possibly want out of life playing.
And it's a team event. That's the one thing that's normally different from standard Death Bowl. Death Bowl is normally four against four. Everyone versus everyone. We're doing 2-on-2, and mostly I think that was my idea, and I did it just because I saw how scoring has to be done. So for Death Bowl, it always has to be two coaches beat two coaches in Death Bowl, because of the way the database works for entry. So there's always going to be two winners and two losers. And I'm like, well, there's got to be two winners and two losers. Why don't we just do a team? And the two winners are that team, and the two losers are the other team. And it's a 2-on-2 event. And I think that'll work. I think it'll be interesting to see the combinations of teams, and people are already trying to figure out, like, well, I'll play lizard men and you play elves, and that'll work out really well. And some people are saying, like, yeah, I'm going to play halflings, you play goblins, and we're going to go to town.
Stunty champions.
Stunty for life, The
teams came about pretty quick. Like, once we even just announced it, we had people, yo, want to be my partner? Yo, want to be my partner? And teams started getting put together right quick. And we are going to cap it only because we're going to have 4 coaches on the pitch. So everything has to be divisible by 4. So as we're getting closer to October, we're going to have to determine, like, okay, the next, like, the cap right now is 28 coaches. The next cap, you're going to have to, if you have a team, like a teammate in year 2, you're going to have to find 2 other guys to play so that you got 4. And then we'll cap it at 32. But it's going to be one of those.
And then we have to know. Yeah. And we have to know a little while in advance, because we have to order pitches.
Custom pitches, right? Which will be, which we're going to make available for people if they want to get a copy. Because once you see the artwork for it based off of the ideas that we've come up with, this pitch is going to be amazing. If you look at the Rocky Mountain Rampage Facebook page, Brian, too, has pictures of the custom Death Bowl pitch that Jack from Maelstrom just made for his event, and I can say that it's amazing. But once he does this custom pitch for ours, and I'm not going to give any details away, and hopefully Ryan won't either.
Nope.
It's a great concept, and it's going to be a very unique pitch, and you're going to want one. So Jack, we may end up having to do more than what we actually need for the event, because I think once we put it out there to the general Blood Bowl public, I think they're going to want to scoop one of these up.
Yeah, I think it was Liam who came up with the idea for the theme.
Yes.
And we're like, that'll make a cool pitch. So let's go with that.
Hells to the yes. So October is going to be a busy month, especially for that weekend. And then to end October, we'll be revisiting Oktoberfest. So this will be the 4th Oktoberfest that I've run myself. And actually, no, I ran last year's. So this is 4. So the second one was run by Roger Banks, of my buddy back home in Pennsylvania. So I had moved, and we had talked about getting it done, and he actually ran the event while I was in Florida. So I ran. This will be my 3rd one that I've run, even though it's the 4th Oktoberfest. And we're going to do that one the last Saturday of October. And believe it or not, we don't have anything on the board for November. I know Chris Nelson was talking about doing a Norse/Viking themed one, but I think he's got a lot on his plate, so he kind of backed off of that. So November is kind of wide open. And then that brings us to December.
Yeah, I know there's been a couple people who said, like, is there a month that's open? So there's definitely stuff out there. September,
I mean, technically you have the U.S. major, but if you're not going to it, then you got a whole month, basically. You got September, you got November. They're wide open. And the only thing we have on the schedule for December is Jason in Jacksonville is running a River City Dungeon Bowl event. And I know we're talking about getting the Hearst molds and passing them around and kind of giving everybody a shot at putting some dungeon tiles together. And I think that's, once we get the molds ordered, I'll be shipping them to Jason so that he can start mass producing these things to make enough tiles for his dungeon, because he wants to go all tile. I mean, Dungeon Bowl, you could get neoprene mats. You could get, I've seen I've seen all sorts of different things, but my favorite are the Hearst molds tiles that you can make and, custom paint them, and they look amazing. And I think that's the route he's going to go. That'll be a fun event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never played Dungeon Bowl, any form of Dungeon Bowl, so I'm looking forward. I've never played any form of Death Bowl either, so I'm looking forward to both of those. But I think, what is it? Death Bowl, I don't know if I'm going to get to do this time, because I agreed to be a flex player, because, we have a tendency to, someone will drop out at the very end, and if we don't have exactly 4 and 4, like, we're going to need flex players. So I think I agreed to be a flexer.
How many flexers do we need? 1 or 2?
2. We're definitely going to need 2, and I thought Liam might have agreed to be the second one, because we were talking about being a team, Liam and I, but also being the flex team. So,
okay.
So, but we'll see.
So 2018 is a big year for Blood Bowl in Florida. I mean, we have so many tournaments. We have the Voodoo Tournament Series. We have Crucible. There's just so much Blood Bowl out there, and there's still more coming that we don't even know about that will end up getting on the schedule or, taking shape. I'm working with a Blood Bowl veteran, like all-star. If there's a celebrity in Blood Bowl, at least in Florida, it would be this guy, Jim Lanier. And I'm working with him on some cool things. So that'll be for 2019. But yeah, there's definitely a lot. I mean, Virginia was kind of always like on the East Coast, like the epicenter of Blood Bowl. But Florida's really stepped it up. I mean, we've got it in Tampa, we've got it in Orlando, we got it in Melbourne, we got it in Jacksonville, we got it in Gainesville. Even though we're not seeing a lot of those guys, they're playing down in Miami. They have a huge league down that way.
They what is it? So what do we got? Pensacola has a. Yeah, I was thinking we should just name all the different leagues. So Pensacola has. If you're listening to this and you don't know where there are leagues, Pensacola has a league working down the state. Jacksonville has a league, I believe, going.
Oh, they've had I think one of the longest running leagues.
Oh, okay. There you go. So
I've seen their NAF numbers; they're low.
So there's 2 in the Orlando Kissimmee area, because there's basically a Kissimmee group and there's an Orlando group as well. because there's the Orc one, which is the Orlando Regional Conference, I think is what they call it, and then there's the one that Liam and Alan and them play in. It's like the Coliseum group Blood Bowl players. So if you're in the center of the state, you have 2 different groups to pick from. A new one is going to be starting off in the Lakeland area because Alan is getting ready to start that. Then Tampa, we have one here at Grand Arena in Tampa that's going. And then on your coast, you know those better than I do.
Yeah, down this way on the Space Coast, we got a lot. We have the Get Your Fun, the GIFO League, Get Your Fun On, we play, which is our regular league. Then our league commissioner actually runs a Wednesday night league called Wednesday Night Fights. Or I think it might be called UBO. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's basically like an open format style league where he runs a season. You bring in any team you want, you play. So even what you play this week could be different than next week. So we got that. Then there's another game store called Dogs of War, and some of their guys like Mike Tremarsh and I can't think of Ed's last name because my brain is like terrible. But Ed knows who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. I'm going to find his last name just to prove a point. Ed Clofer.
Ed knows who he talks about because that is
yes,
Ed.
Ed Clofer, that's how you pronounce it. But those guys who play at Dogs of War, they have their own Blood Bowl league. Trying to think of where else.
So if you go down south, what is it? There's a Miami Blood Bowl league, right? Well, Miami / Fort Lauderdale-ish area Blood Bowl league. They have their own Florida page as well. There's a Southern Florida Blood Bowl page.
I want to say some of those guys play at Silver Dragon Tavern and Games. They just opened last year, and they're big on the Blood Bowl. I want to say the last time I checked their league page, they had like 35 coaches or something like that.
That's a crazy amount of coaches.
Yep, the biggest. Our league in Pennsylvania had close to 30 coaches, but it wasn't more than that. We had to start a developmental league for like newer coaches so that they can kind of like get up to par with some of the veteran coaches, and they were able to play in both leagues if they wanted to. But at least we had that league started for rookie coaches, so they had an easier time kind of getting into the swing of things. But a lot of Blood Bowl in Florida in 2018, and I think it's only going to grow from here. For next year, we're looking at taking the open tournament series that we have and making it a structured tournament series. The difference being that the structured series would have announced tournaments that are part of the tournament series. So before 2019 would start, we would be like, okay, we're going to take the Grand Arena tournament. We're going to take the Oktoberfest tournament. We're going to take the Jacksonville Dungeon Bowl Sevens tournament, and we're going to take these 9 or 10 tournaments, and these are going to be part of the tournament series. So all the other tournaments could be part of, your Road to 24, or just playing Blood Bowl to play Blood Bowl. But the structured tournament series is actually going to have announced tournaments that are fixed, and we won't be adding to them if we decide to go that route. I mean, we don't have to. We can keep it open. This way it gives us the flexibility of having, different tournaments all part of the series, or we could go structured. We have the ability to do that. But, 2018, huge year for Blood Bowl. I'll be getting my 24 patch in October. I'm looking to do it. I could get it either in Chicago at Chaos Cup, or I could do it in October at Oktoberfest at Get Your Fun On, which is home turf. So in my mind, I want to, I'd love to get my patch, on my home turf, but we'll see what happens.
You're gonna let Mark pressure you into doing it at Chaos Cup?
I don't know. Mark has the ability to pressure people into doing most things because he's a good guy. I mean, he does so much for the Blood Bowl community, and he rarely asks for anything in return. So when he asks me to do something, I feel compelled to do it. But we'll see what happens. I mean, it all depends on how many tournaments I can make, and I plan on making them all, but it's not always feasible. So, but I'm close. I think I'm halfway there now. And there's so many. I mean, we're only 3 months into 2018, 2018. We're only 3 months in, so a lot of Blood Bowl left to play this year.
I was chasing 24, and then I'm like, you know what? I like playing certain teams, and I'm going to play them. So,
and there's
I'm having too much fun playing Skaven. I think I'm just going to play them more. So I was like, I'm here to do it for fun. Eventually, I might get there. We'll see.
Well, when the whole thing's over, I'll be looking forward to. I mean, it's hard when you're playing a team in a tournament that you've never played before, and you're trying to win with them. It's not always feasible. It makes you it makes you a better coach trying, playing all the different teams, which was part of the, reasoning for doing it. But when everything's said and done, I definitely want to go back to playing Chaos. They were not the first team that I started playing, but they're probably my favorite team. And as far as
I assume you've already checked them off your 24.
Oh yeah.
So you're not bringing them to the Grand Arena Bowl?
Well, as it turns out, like with the rule stipulation in checking them off, you got to play 3 matches with each team. So in case you guys don't know that, and you're on the road to 24/26, which means you've played all the Blood Bowl teams in a NAF sanctioned tournament. I had some matches where due to playing somebody who was not NAF, which is another reason to join the NAF, not to get up on a soapbox here, but if you're playing Blood Bowl and you're going to a tournament, you most of the tournaments these days now, you pay an extra $5 as part of the tournament fee if you're not NAF, and then we automatically sign you up, because if you're not, then your matches that you play against somebody who is NAF don't count for that person. That kind of sucks. So my Chaos team, I actually have 1 match that I only have counted. So actually, I might there's a good chance I am bringing Chaos to your event, because my star player that I want to field is none other than Lord Borak the Despoiler.
Borak the Despoiler. Why?
Because he's a personal favorite. Yeah, he's a personal favorite.
He's a personal favorite. I have personally been shit talked by Borak the Despoiler, so I feel blessed.
That's why he's a personal favorite. Oh yeah, I have a couple of matches that I got to play, like a game here. Like what else? I got to play 1 game. Chaos, I got to play 2 games. So we'll get them off the list. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing Chaos again. Always a good time.
Yeah, what do you think about the new Chaos figures?
They're cool. I know a lot of people already were like, "Oh, don't like the Chaos Warrior, like the Beastman, don't like the Chaos Warrior." I don't know.
They do look like, remember that 90s video game Blitz? With the like really beefy like football players? They kind of look like those. And they're wearing like short shorts.
So they'd be perfect for the Beach Bowl.
Yeah, they're party. They're here and they're ready to party. But yeah, I kind of agree with them. Like I'm not hate the Chaos Warriors. I'm not particularly a fan of them, but I do think the Beastmen look great. The Beastmen look really nice.
So it's well, the last thing I'll mention here, seeing as how we started with it, is the Voodoo Tournament standings.
Who's at the top?
Who's at the top? John Alberto is at the top with 31 points.
John
and right
Alberto.
Behind him, yep, right behind him, they've already self-proclaimed themselves the Bash Brothers. I believe that's what they're calling themselves. Chris Nelson in second place, who was basically in first place up until this past tournament, and he's in second with 28. And then Josh, who's been killing it, he's in 27 or third place with 27 points. Then Eric, who just won the tournament in Jacksonville, the River City Sevens, he is in fourth with 25. Ken Parks with 21. Joe Abel, who's new to our league and our tournaments, with 15 points. Cody Drake.
Wow.
Yeah. Cody with 14. Nick Phillips with 14. Jason York with 12. Jason Carter with 11. Mark Vaughn with 10. Mike Tremarsh from the Dogs crew at 9. Nick LaRosa, one of the Jacksonville guys, 9. Matt Nantes, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his last name. He's new to our group. 8. Me with 7. Somehow I got 7, because you actually do get a couple of points for running the tournaments, and I placed a little bit here. So hey, I'm happy with 7 points for now. I got to win one. And Joe Cohen after me with 7, then you with 7. So and Steve Graham.
We both have 7, but
yeah,
combined.
I know, right?
Combined, we have 14 points, which is not even half of what the leaders have. That's cool.
Nope. That's cool for them. We got to get off our ass.
But
yeah, everybody's having fun collecting the Voodoo points, and there's a 2 event minimum, which I think most coaches will hit, and there's a 2-race minimum, which most coaches have hit. So those are some of the stipulations for advancing or winning Voodoo: hitting 2 events, 2-race minimum, and yeah, everybody. I can't wait to see where the tournament series points final at, like where they top out at by the end of the year. Like, are we going to be in triple digits? Probably, easily.
Oh, easily triple digits. If we're in March and people are already in the 30s, yeah, that means they've averaged 10 points a month.
Whew. So it'll be
There's
cool to see.
There's only more tournaments coming down the pipe, like
Yep.
more average per month.
Awesome. Well, let me just go ahead and say thank you to the people, Jason and Chris, who hopped on there and asked some great questions. And thanks to Ryan for helping me do this. And
No
I think
problem.
it was great. I enjoyed doing it, and I look forward to doing another one. And I think we already have some topics to discuss for the next one. So,
yeah, no, I definitely could bring a topic or two myself.
Cool.
Of things I want to talk about. So yeah, great, and thanks for doing this, for putting it together.
Awesome. Well, I am signing off. I'm actually going to go try and, I don't know, drink some coffee or something.
All right, have fun with that, and I will get inside. So,
All right.
all right. I'll talk to y'all, or talk to you later, man.
Yep.
See
Florida
ya.
Blood Bowl. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.